Hello again, and welcome back. We are at 9 steps to writing your Survivor story. We're now at part 1. Now, as I go into this a little deeper, I want to first share with you a lot of this particular training came from a good friend of mine named Jim Edwards. Now, he is smart, brilliant, like the man knows everything. In fact, he's writing a story about he has a book, and it's all about avatars and who is your who and everything like that. So, this comes from Jim. He is amazing. All credit goes to him. The focus is about finding who needs your book. The best thing that I've ever heard from him is that before you start any kind of a project, make sure you have an audience for that. Since you guys are writing a book, you better find that audience before. That's a huge overview. Are we good? We're going to start? You guys ready? Okay, here we go. Part 1. Who is your who? So basically, you're talking about your audience, your readers, your clients, whomever you have as a setup for whatever business you have. You need to know who you are meeting with. And I'm talking one person. Do you see how there's just one gal on the screen there? One. It is that idea of really focusing in on who is that versus this general type of thing. So, again, Jim Edwards says you need keywords, key phrases, keyword counters. There are so many magical things that happen on Google. However, you need to know who you're going to target first. Those other types of tools can help you get there. But if you say that everyone is my client or everyone is my reader, it's not going to work. You are not going to be happy with your results. Okay, wait a minute. I just thought we were talking about writing a book. Yeah. Who is your reader? Who are you writing the story to? Think about it like this. If you went to a coffee shop, a restaurant, whatever, and you sat down with someone who was a blind date, are you going to express everything to that particular person first time? You're going to feel comfortable with that? No, you want to build a relationship and get to know them first. So if you know them, they become your best friend. They know themselves. You know them better than they know themselves. Get it? Okay. We're going to keep going with this. So there's big main 3 points. And again, from Jim, read his books. He is amazing. You have a whole bunch of different things. And there's 3 main areas. You have knowledge, you have experience, and then you have the market, like where they all live, where the people are. How are you going to find your readers there? They will connect with your knowledge. They will connect with your experience. Okay? But again, don't start the project hoping that they will. Find them first, gather them together, and then share with them the knowledge and experience you have. Cool? All right. Knowledge, what is that? Your knowledge, that's what you have learned through, formal education or just through living with life, things that you've read, courses you've taken, certifications, anything like that. That's your knowledge, all right? Now, experience, y'all know a lot about that. I'm sure that's why you're writing this story, because of the experiences you experienced. You want others to understand the experience so they can either change themselves prior to them going through all of their pain and shame, right? It is your training, it is your skills, it is what you've done, it's your on-the-job action, it's all of these things. The doing of stuff is your experience. Then the market. Okay, so the market is basically people. Cool. Who are you connecting with? Like from my stories, the ones I've written thus far, domestic violence audience usually grabs a hold of those. Some advocates possible too, because there's a few learning curves at the end. But really, that is my focused audience. I need that one person who has had a similar experience to read through this, gain knowledge and light, and know that they can change their life. That's the focus of my book with that person involved. So I'm going to know that person better than they know themselves, and they're going to say, I need that. Okay. This worked out amazing where a friend of mine knew someone who was in the domestic violence situation. She asked me, who is the focus of your book? And I shared with her, it's for anyone who has been in domestic violence or still in domestic violence, needs a way to get out, needs some hope, some light. This person is usually they've they've tried a few times and always gone back. That's a similar story with me. So she gave this to her friend, my book to her friend. In reading this book, the woman read it and a few months later called her friend, said, thank you for giving me this book. It's time for me to leave. And on the day she went over to help her friend leave, my book was on her bedside table. That's kind of cool. Okay, so knowing who your who is super important. Cool? So that bottom line is that you need to help other people because you know them better than they know themselves. That is the connection. You have an experience, you have knowledge, you have an emotional tie with them. So, this who is your who. I shared this slide on the previous training. So, very specific. Okay. So, let's go down to Melissa, the DV survivor storyteller. Okay, so Melissa, she escaped DV and lived to tell about it, but emotionally, she is lost in her victim story, meaning she shares her story, but there's no real hope at the end. Most people who hear the story are left, quote, bleeding, right? There's no resolve. It's just this again and again. Now, the story needs to be shared. She needs to find her audience who will connect. And my job, where she connects with me, is to help her not just write a victim story, not a survivor story, but a thriver or a victor's story. So she connects with the reader, shares with them the pain, and brings them through hope and brings them to this victory through the story, no matter how she wants to do it. If it's self help, if it's memoir, if it's a novel, if it's fiction, if it's a Christian, whatever the topic or style or genre, that part is a whole different training. The idea is that you're connecting with this person. So she now knows through the training that I've given her to not just stick in that victim story, but to get to the survivor story and into that victory story. And that can help many different women to avoid the bad relationships in the first place. See? That's because I know who I'm addressing when it comes to that part of what I do, which is part of this whole book. This whole idea and training is for you with that in your mind. Cool? Great. All right. We're going to be moving on to part two is how do I capture the story? We're going to go in depth on that next. You guys ready? Awesome. If you are enjoying this and looking for even more, writing down even notes, I will make sure that we've connected these PowerPoints together as part of your course. You can always go back and review that so that you have it there. And if there's more that you need to share and talk about, you can see my email addresses right down there. Let's connect, figure out how and what else I can help and support you with. Cool. All right, guys. See you in the next training.